What up, y'all, man? I'm back. I'm back with another episode of the Speaking Heat podcast, man. I'm rocking solo right now. But we're gonna get it cracking, man. We're gonna dive into some college football. You know, crazy weekend as always. Love the sport. But crazy weekend as always, man. And to me, a slightly telling weekend. We saw a lot of movement in the polls by results this week, so very, very interesting, and kind of get an idea of who's good and who's not. We'll dive into a lot of different topics and some teams, man. Coming out of the weekend, a lot of big things happen. Obviously, probably the biggest thing in the sport, Clemson obviously gets upset, by Syracuse. And they go down in kind of embarrassing fashion at home. Not great, man. They just don't look like they've got it together. Like they've struggled this season, and it seems like every week it gets worse. They look worse and worse every week, and it's not a good sign, man. Not a good sign for Dabo and the Tigers, man. Texas Tech, in kind of the game of the day, Texas Tech goes and gets a hard win in Salt Lake against Utah, man. A tough, gritty Utah squad, as always, man. Kevin Whittingham, always has those Utah teams ready to play, and they came ready, but Texas Tech, they look a little bit better. They actually had their starting quarterback go down, so, having a young cat, having a freshman come in and really won the game, kind of, really, played better than the starter did. So, that was a interesting game, Oklahoma, tough game. Big boy football, man. When you watch Auburn and Oklahoma play, that's what big boy football is about, man. Their pads were popping and a tough game, but Oklahoma got a tough win. Michigan, really, really entertaining game. Michigan took care of business, rebounded on the road. Nebraska, Raiola looked like a good football team, but Michigan got the best of them, man. They rebounded and got a win. Oregon, looks like one of the better teams in the country. They cruised, to a big win against Oregon State in the Civil War. Miami went and took care of business against Florida. A lot of things going on down in Gainesville, man. Florida's continuing to struggle, and they picked up another bad loss, and Miami looks good. They moved up to number 2 in the polls, and Miami looks like a contender for real. And really the nightcap, Indiana and Illinois looked like it was going to be a big time game to kind of see who's like that. Another one of those really, really good teams in the Big Ten, and Indiana went and put the smack down on Illinois, scored, I think it was 63 points they put on them. Terrible performance by Illinois. Indiana looked good, really ran up and down the field on them. So great weekend, man. Great weekend of football, exciting weekend of football, and let's dive in. Obviously, the big, the big thing of the weekend, in my opinion, was, Clemson, man. Clemson, falling 34-21 against Syracuse at home. They're falling apart, dude. Clemson looks terrible. They look terrible. Klubnik is not playing that very well. The hype coming into the year is Clemson's going to be, one of the best teams in the country, potential national championship favorite. I had them as my national champion and they just look terrible. Clemson is absolutely falling apart. And I really don't know where they go from here, because it's something not clicking, and every week they look worse. And they go down big. I think they were down by like 20 points at some point in the game, and they eventually kind of brought themselves back, to where they was going to try to make a run to get back in this game, and it just did not happen. Clemson looks terrible, and they got to figure it out, dude, because, now I want to say they have a decent ACC schedule. This was one of those games that they should have won, and they didn't. So we'll see, man. Clemson's just kind of a wait and see. Dabo's kind of feeling the pressure. You can tell he was feeling the pressure in one of his press conferences. He's talking about, if they want him gone and they want to stop winning, then get rid of him. But they've got him now, and they're not really winning this year. So Clemson needs to get it together, man. A game I was really looking forward to, maybe the most looking forward to the weekend, Texas Tech and Utah. I've been pretty high on Texas Tech. They look like a good football team and good game. Very low scoring game, and especially in the first half. The defense has really dominated the most of this game. Brandon Morton was knocked out of the game on a targeting penalty that was they looked at it. In my opinion, it was targeting. They called it a non-targeting foul, so it is what it is. But he got knocked out of the game, and Texas Tech had to bring in, a young guy, Will Hammond, freshman, and he balled out. 13 to 16 for 169 yards and 2 touchdowns. Played really, really good football, and really, he's really the reason that they won the game 34-10. Their defensive line looks really good. Texas Tech, really, really good defensive line. But Will Hammond really is the X factor in this game. He went out and put 2 extra, touchdowns on the board in the second half and really launched them to win this game. He played really, really well, and I'm actually very interested to see, do they continue with him, especially if next week Morton doesn't play and he plays well again. Do they keep him as the starter, or do they bring Morton back in? And that to me, that's very, very interesting. I think Texas Tech looks really good. Now, I'm a little less high on them since I've seen them play. I do think they've got some things they need to work out. I think they need to try to establish a little bit more of a run game. And I think defensively, their secondary at times can get handsy. There's some different little aspects of their game that I'm a little worried about, looking on towards the season and then playing some of the better teams in the Big 12. But Texas Tech looked good. Utah looked good, at parts of the game. But Texas Tech, they picked up a big win, and I'm excited to see them going forward, man. I'm high on Texas Tech. So Oklahoma went in crazy good game. This was a very entertaining game for me to watch. Went and got a win against Auburn. Tough win. Tough game. The pads were popping. Big boy football, man. These 2 defenses really showed out. But John Mateer, man. John Mateer, favorite in the Heisman for a reason. Continues the ball. He continues to show why he is the favorite to win the Heisman right now. Jackson Arnold on the other side for Auburn, obviously going against his old team, and he actually played well. He played all right, but they came up short, man. It's really late in this game. Oklahoma's defensive line took over this game like crazy. It's a rare thing at times where you have games against 2 really good teams, big opponents, elite level players, and one position group. The D-line takes over the game, and if you go watch the ending of this game, the last 3 minutes, I think Auburn was backed up, towards their own end zone, and their D-line, I want to say they had 3 straight sacks or something. But 3 straight sacks. It was insane. It was a sight to see. Auburn, they to me, they're a team that's going to continue to grow. I think the Auburn that we see now is not going to be the Auburn we see in a month, in 2 months, at the end of the season. Auburn is a really good football team. I think they're still growing, but I like what I see from Auburn. In Oklahoma, they're legit. That's always been kind of the question, at least for me. I expected them to be good, but I wanted to know how good, and they're showing it. And I think Oklahoma is 100% a contender to win the SEC. They're showing me a lot, especially on defense. I like what I see. I think John Mateer is a legit player. I think Oklahoma can potentially win the SEC. So we'll see, man. Oklahoma, they still got some tough games to play, but they look good. Going into last week, a game that was kind of circled just to kind of see, what Florida had in them was Miami and Florida, man. They obviously Florida's on the road, and the question was, is Florida going to lay down, or are they going to come out and make this a game and challenge Miami? And it just doesn't seem like Florida has it, man. They just don't have it. And Miami does. Miami is a damn good football team. And Florida, I mean, especially on defense, Florida only had 141 total yards. That is a lot. Like that is a ton. That is a ton for Miami's defense. To hold the team as talented as Florida to 141 total yards, that's big time. That's elite level defense right there. Now, I get that Florida's not the greatest football team in the world. I get it. But to do that against the talent that they have is very, very impressive. Miami, top to bottom, they look great. Carson Beck, is 100% a Heisman candidate. He's playing really good football, and they really went and took care of business. On the other side, Florida, man, their schedule continues to get tougher. They still have tons of ranked teams to play, and I just don't see them figuring it out. Now, if you go look at last year, again, Florida struggled early, and then they kind of got it together, and they started beating some teams, and they ended the season hot. The question is, in my opinion, do they give Billy Napier the time to be able to do that again? I'm not sure, because I'm sure he's already on the hot seat, and I'm sure there's a lot of Florida fans that want him gone. So we'll see. I would let Napier finish the season, because I think football is about growth, and I want to see this team grow and evolve and kind of get it together and start playing some good football. But they got to figure it out, man. They did not look good against Miami, and they've not looked good any this year. So we'll see. But Miami's legit, and they moved up, I think, to number 2 in the polls. And so they're right in the mix, man. They look like clear leaders in the ACC. And then the nightcap, we saw Indiana and Illinois, and if you watch the game, man, the crowd was into it, packed house, big game, and Indiana went and put it on Illinois. They completely overwhelmed Illinois from the jump. Illinois looked overwhelmed and was just not there from the jump. Indiana ended up having 7 sacks. And even when they weren't sacking the quarterback, dude, they had pressure the entire game. Indiana looked really, really good. Once I digest the game and I kind of go back and look, I kind of thought, I don't think Indiana is really 63-10 better than Illinois. And I don't think Illinois is 63-10 worse than Indiana. I think just Indiana was on. I think Illinois just had a bad night. And but at the same time, like, for me, Illinois, I always had a question about how good they were. I figured they were a good football team. But I figured, I was thinking, how good are they really? Because they really haven't played tough competition. And they played the best team that they've played so far, Indiana, and they get waxed. So I don't think this is a definitive representation of how good they are. But I think Illinois has got some things to figure out, because, as they continue to play, the Big Ten schedule, they avoid some tough teams. But, if Indiana's putting it on you like this, then you're going to have a problem, later on. Indiana, to me, they were a team in the preseason that I kind of looked at as a team that's going to fall. I don't necessarily feel any different, but this matchup right here in this game impressed me. They're a wait and see. I know they moved up. I think they moved up to around 11. I personally don't have them that high. I've actually got my own top 25. We're going to look at in a bit that I kind of did. But Indiana, they look good. But to me, they're a wait and see. I still want to see them play some more good teams. But crazy performance by Indiana, and they picked up a big win. And then looking around the country, man, really kind of the best of the rest. Some good performances around the country. We saw some good teams win big. Texas, LSU, Florida State, Tennessee all had big wins. Played some inferior opponents, but they didn't struggle. They actually went and took care of business like you would expect. And then we had Michigan, like we said earlier. Michigan beat Nebraska 30-27. Really good game. We're starting to see Bryce Underwood use his feet more. I think him using his feet more is going to allow his maturation process to be expedited because he's not just going to have to worry about winning games from the pocket. I think him going and winning, using his legs so he can continue to develop is going to help Michigan. And they picked up a big win. They looked pretty good. Tough game, adverse game. You know, Nebraska's a decent football team. Raiola at times looked good, and at times he struggled. I think he needs to continue to develop, but big win by Michigan, man. Oregon went and they beat rival Oregon State. Not really a whole lot to this game. They really went and took care of business. Got the Platypus Trophy in house. You know, one of the longest rivalries in the sport. They look good, took care of business, and on to Happy Valley next week, man. We'll take a look at that big game next week. Missouri defeated South Carolina in a game that's interesting because Missouri is a good football team. And I think coming into this year, no one was really looking at Missouri. I wasn't. And they're, I want to say 4-0, 3 or 4-0, and they look good. They have a good quarterback. Their offense has been putting up some big numbers, and they played a decent football team in South Carolina and picked up a 7-point win. Very impressive. Very, very impressive. And lastly, Notre Dame. Notre Dame played Purdue, put up some big numbers, 56 points. Notre Dame right now, a team that's not really putting up a lot of big numbers, but they went and took care of business against Purdue. Mainly the thing that concerns me about this game is the fact that they give up 30 points to Purdue. Notre Dame is a team that has a reputation of having a great defense. Their defense has given up more points than I would have expected this year. So that's got me concerned about Notre Dame because they play a few more good football teams. So them putting up 30 points, Purdue putting up 30 points against Notre Dame is concerning. Notre Dame looks like a good football team. I actually think they should be ranked way higher than what they are. But I'm going to start keeping an eye on what they do on defense because that concerns me. That tells me that they're going to be in games where they should be winning games big and teams are staying with them. So big win against Purdue, but I think that defensive performance and their defensive performances this year has me a little concerned. Next, we're gonna look at the new AP poll. Again, like I've said before, I don't take too much into the AP poll, especially now since we got the playoff. But I think it's still a part of the sport, and it's very, very interesting the way that teams are moving around. Big movers, or some things that really stand out to me. Obviously, Miami moving to number 2. Obviously, with a big win against Florida, so that they move into number 2. It's not necessarily telling of me of anything, but it really puts them in the forefront of the sport now to be like considered a legit national championship contender. Not a whole lot changed, throughout the top, 6 or so. We see Oklahoma moved up from 11 to 7. Interesting. I like them in the top 10 now. I've been saying they should have been a top 10 team a couple weeks ago. I like where they're at. I think they're a legit contender, and I actually like their place. Florida State, them being 8 is still kind of like showing out to me. I just don't think of Florida State as like a top 10 team right now. I don't think what they've done so far to me shows that they're a legit top 10 team. They go and play Bama week 1, and they had a really, really good performance. Go and beat, a premier program in the sport, really, emphatically. And then they've put up some good offensive numbers and, really good performances against very inferior opponents. I've yet to see this 8th ranking be warranted, in my opinion. I don't see the quality of opponent and results to be the 8th team in the country. I think they're top 15-ish around that. I don't believe they're quite 8 yet. I'm waiting to see them play better football teams to really show me that they're really ranked that high. That's interesting that they're up so high. Someone else that's slowly falling throughout the year. Every week it seems like Texas drops a spot. They're 10th. They started the season, they were the preseason number 1 ranked team in the country, and now they're 10. And I mean, they won. They actually had their best performance of the year, and they dropped 2. So very, very interesting that they're slowly falling, and teams around them have some good games coming up. Again, the AP poll is going to work itself out because number 1, we have the actual playoff rankings, in a handful of weeks, but games are going to be played, things are going to work themselves out. But very interesting that Texas continues to fall. Very, very interesting. Probably the biggest movers in the poll, we got Indiana at 11. I think to me, they're not the 11th best team in the country, in my opinion. But I do think they do deserve it, beating a top 10 ranked team in Illinois, who, in my opinion, isn't a top 10 ranked team. But, within the AP poll, they did so in a big performance at that. So I understand why they're ranked 11, but I don't think they're 11th, in my opinion. But very interesting that they moved up 8 spots. Texas Tech, struggle win, tough win, but they got to win nonetheless. They moved up 5 spots, big move in the poll. Now they're finally, in my opinion, kind of where I thought they should have been a couple weeks ago. But I want to continue to see how this team develops because I do have questions about this football team. But I'm glad to see them ranked high so they get some more eyes on them. A team that I kind of see in this poll right now, Tennessee at 15. I'm very torn on them at 15 because if we look at Georgia's ranked, I want to say, where were they ranked at? 5. They're ranked 5th. So my logic tells me if Tennessee is 3-1 and their only loss is an overtime loss against the 5th best team in the country that's undefeated, why are they ranked at 15? They're one of the highest scoring teams in the country. They have one of the best offenses in the country. Their defense is really, really good. And they went toe-to-toe with Georgia and barely lost the game. I think they should be ranked higher than 15. In my opinion, I think they should be closer to top 10 or even in the top 10. I think Tennessee's a really, really good football team. And in my opinion, to a degree, I think they may be better than Georgia, in my opinion. And I understand that head-to-head matters. And yes, it does. It is the ultimate decider of how good a team is. And I don't think they deserve to be ranked ahead of Georgia. But I think there's a potential that they are better than Georgia. I think if they played 100 times, I think Tennessee probably wins, at least 51 out of the 100. But to have them ranked 15 with what they've done, in my opinion, I think is, not great by AP voters. I think they're way better than 15. As we see USC. They moved up 4 spots. They're another team I'm keeping an eye on because offensively they're really, really good. They're really, really good on offense. They can score on anybody, I think. But defensively, I still have major questions because they still, I had them on upset alert last week and they went and had a very close game. They had a very, very close game against Michigan State. Way closer than the line suggested. And I thought it was going to be close, and it was close, not in the way that I expected, but Michigan State brought it, and I think that USC being ranked 21, I think is about accurate. They've got more games to come to really earn themselves up in the rankings, but they're a very interesting team because their defense is a work in progress. I'm waiting on this team. If their defense can come around, I think this is one of the best teams in the country if they can get their defense right. As in the biggest moves, obviously Illinois drops after a loss. Big loss to Indiana. But Notre Dame at 22nd. To me, in my opinion, I have an issue with them being ranked 22nd because I get that they're 1-2, but their 2 losses are to the number 2 ranked team in the country by 2 points. And I want to say Texas A&M, I want to say it's ranked 9th. Texas A&M is ranked 9th. So you lost to the number 2 and number 9th ranked teams in the country by a combined 3 points. I don't want to hear about them being 0-2 and then now 1-2. Like, Notre Dame should be higher in these rankings, and it's not even close. I'm not a fan. This is why I say I'm not a fan of the AP poll, because I just don't think a lot of these voters know what they're talking about, in my opinion. I just think that it's all based on your win-loss record. And I think there's more that goes into a ranking system than win-loss record. Because if you watch the games, they're way better than the 22nd team in the country. And then really the last team that I really have noticed, it looks like the first team out of the top 25 is Auburn. I think Auburn should be ranked. I think Auburn should be ranked really inside the top 20. Potentially, I think Auburn's a really good football team. I don't understand what they see in Auburn to not put them up in the rankings. I'm big on the ranking that you have should be indicative of the performance that you do. And I think going toe-to-toe with Oklahoma the way that they did for about 3.5 quarters, I think should be warranted and rewarded, considering you have Oklahoma ranked, what are they ranked? 7. They went toe-to-toe for 3.5 quarters with the number 7th ranked team in the country, and you can tell they've got dudes on this football team. If you watch, they've got NFL dudes. I don't understand what these voters are looking at. I've got Auburn in my top 25. I think they're a good football team, and I think they should have a better ranking. And right now, I've got my this is my own personal top 25. Just going off of what I've seen this year, the way that I've seen teams play, and how good I think these teams really, really are. This is my top 25, and most people are gonna, look at some of these teams on why do you have them ranked that high, or why are they ranked so low? And really, I've got one of the big ones is Tennessee. So like I said earlier, I think Tennessee's a really good football team. I've got them at 7. LSU, I think LSU is not a top 3 team. LSU has struggled. They've got players, but I think LSU needs to play better to be ranked that high. They have potential, but I don't think the way that they've played is warranted for that high of a ranking. Who else? Alabama. Alabama is one that I think should be ranked higher. I think looking at how they've played since that week 1 loss, I think they've gotten things together a little bit. I think that they are better than the performance that they showed against Florida State. Now, they have games, and they have a big one this week to warrant the ranking that I've given them, but they have games left that if they go take care of business, they're going to be ranked right within the mix. But at least from what I see, I still think they're a pretty good football team. So I've got them ranked 12. Notre Dame is another one. Just like I said earlier, I think Notre Dame is a good football team. I do think they have questions defensively, but I like what I've seen. 2 top 10 losses by a combined 3 points. And I think they should be right in that teen area. Indiana, so like I said earlier, I think Indiana is not quite a top 10-ish team, and they're borderline. They're 11. I just don't think they're quite that good. I've not seen enough to really put them in that category. Iowa State, I don't even think Iowa State's ranked. Let me check real quick. I don't even think they're ranked right now. They're a team that I've got ranked a little lower than they have them ranked. I think they're ranked 14. They're a team that I was big on early in the year, and I'm not still big on them, but I think I would like to see a little bit better from them. But they're a team that I've got ranked a little bit lower than what most do. And then really Auburn. I've got Auburn 20th. I think they should be ranked, like I said before. I like Auburn. I like what I see, and I actually think Auburn ends the season ranked higher than this in the actual poll. I think they're a good football team. This is my top 25. I'm very, very interested to see how the season shakes out. But, I think there are some teams that are being undervalued and overvalued. So now that we've kind of, gotten through a handful of games of the season and you're starting to see what teams are really made of, now it's kind of time, in my opinion, to really look at what teams are legit. What teams are legit contenders? What teams, do you feel like are kind of fool's gold? And some teams that I think that are legit contenders, man. Obviously, I think Ohio State, Penn State, Miami, Oregon, Georgia, Oklahoma, and Tennessee are legit contenders. I think all those teams are legit contenders. After that, I think you have a cluster of teams that are like, they have potential to be contenders, but they haven't, in my opinion, proven what they need to prove to show that they are legit contenders to win it all. I like those top six. Those are the teams I really look at as the legit teams in the sport right now to really go and win and really go win a national title, man. Right now, looking at it, my favorite to win it all. I still got to put Ohio State number one as in the favorite because they're the only team that has been as flawless as they've been, even though that they did struggle last week. I do think that Ohio State looks pretty good. I think they're the one team that I feel like has been somewhat tested and then has taken care of business when they should take care of business. But, I think there's a handful of teams at the top that I think are legit contenders, man. There's a good group. And finally, let's take a look at this upcoming week's games, man. Week 5, we're already 5 weeks through the season. We're almost halfway through the season already. This season's gone quick, and I think week five has actually got some very interesting games, in my opinion. Number one, Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame traveling to Arkansas is an interesting game because Notre Dame is a really good football team. Arkansas, on the other hand, is a team that has struggled. They've looked good on offense, but defensively, they don't look very, very good. I think Notre Dame should be on upset alert. I think this team going to Arkansas, they're having to play against an Arkansas offense that's 15th in the country in scoring. This team can put up some points. They're scoring over 43 points a game. And granted, they're not playing the best teams, but they still put up, a lot of points on Ole Miss. So I think Arkansas is a team that's a sneaky team, in this game. And I think Notre Dame needs to be on upset alert. And I'm going to keep an eye on this one. Another one, the number one team in the country. I think Ohio State, this is going to be a game that I'm very, very interested in because Ohio State goes on the road to Washington. Washington's 3-0, and they've got the 25th ranked overall defense. Now, obviously, you're like, oh, this is not like a top 10 defense. But, they're only giving up 262 yards per game, and it's early in the year. But this team has played well at home. Defensively, they've played well. I could see this being, a 6-7 point game going into the fourth quarter, to be real. I think Washington's defense is sneaky good, and I'm excited to see this. This is just a game. I'm not putting Ohio State on upset alert, but I think that this is a game to watch out for because I want to see, can Washington keep it close? Because then once you do that, you build hope in a team. And when you have hope, you play a lot better. So I'm very interested to see Washington's defense play against Ohio State. Another game, a game that I would bet the over on this game, USC at Illinois. USC's going on the road to an Illinois team that just had a terrible performance on the road. They're going to come home. Hopefully they're going to get it together. Hopefully they're going to have a tough week of practice and kind of try to right the ship. And I expect points. I expect some points in this game. Illinois can score points. USC's the number one scoring, or they were the number one scoring team in the country the last time I looked. But Both defenses rank middle of the pack nationally. So this is not, two defenses that are going to be really, really good, that are going to go and shut down these offenses. I expect there to be a lot of points in this game, and I bet the over. I got SC, but I think this is going to be a very, very interesting game. And if Illinois wins this game, I'm not surprised. LSU, they're going to travel to Ole Miss, man. Ole Miss can score. 8th total overall defense when it comes to yards, 543 yards per game. They're scoring over 45 points a game. Ole Miss can score the football, and LSU has struggled to a degree. So I have Ole Miss actually winning this football game. I think LSU catches an L here. Wouldn't be surprised if LSU won the football game because they're a really good team. But I've got Ole Miss on upset or LSU. Actually, I think Ole Miss is the favorite. I'm gonna watch this game. This is gonna be a good football game, and I'm excited to see this game. I think Ole Miss wins this game, and I think they project themselves into the top 10 after this matchup. And last, or not last, but we're gonna dive into the 2 biggest games of the week. Big time games. Both are gonna be night games. First off, we got Alabama going to Athens, playing against Georgia. Very, very interesting game. Big game. One of the biggest games of the season so far. A Georgia team, both teams coming off a bye as well. But a Georgia team that just came off of, a very emotional, big win at Tennessee. And then Alabama also coming off of a bye and kind of getting things back rolling after a tough week 1. I kind of went and I just looked at some stats on this game. Alabama is 9-1 in the last 10 matchups with this team. The last time I think Bama beat, the last time that the Georgia won a home game against Alabama was in 2003. So it has been a minute. It's been 25 years since Georgia's won at home against Bama. Bama is 8-2. Whenever they play on each other's campuses in the last 10 seasons, last 10 matchups, Bama is 10-2, and then Kirby Smart's 1-6 against Alabama. Now, granted, most of those games were against not Kalen DeBoer, but the GOAT Nick Saban. But still, a game of this magnitude is massive. This is going to be an extremely entertaining football game, in my opinion. I think Alabama is actually going to play really well in this game. I think the narrative behind Alabama right now is that, they're coming off of that terrible, terrible loss to open the year. They look terrible. I think they play well. I think this is going to be a classic. I think this is going to be a really, really good football game. My gut tells me Alabama wins this game. That's what my gut tells me. I wouldn't bet this game at all. I think this is a coin flip. I would lean Alabama, but this is definitely a coin flip. I'm excited to see this game. This is gonna be a really good football game. On the other side, obviously, we've got Gunnar Stockton. This is gonna be really the third biggest game of his career already. First it was Texas in the SEC championship, then it was Tennessee at home or on the road, and then now we got a home game against Alabama, and we're gonna see. We're gonna continue to see what this Georgia offense can do. Can they develop a downfield passing game? I still don't think that their downfield passing game has gotten going, even though we had some decent balls in the last game against Tennessee. I don't believe that their passing game has evolved enough to keep up if this game turns into a high scoring game, which just like it did against Tennessee. I don't know. I don't know if they're going to be able to keep up if this turns into a track meet. So excited to see this game. Under the lights, primetime, epic game. Wish I could go. This game is going to be incredible. And then we got the main event of the weekend, man. We got Oregon, Penn State, two of the best teams in the country under the lights, 7:30. Going to be over 107,000 people in this stadium, whiteout conditions. This is going to be an epic game, man. Obviously, the whiteout is one of the most hyped games of the year, but, usually these are one of the biggest games of the year. Penn State 7-1 in the last 8 versus 6 different ranked teams. So they usually play big games in this game. And the last eight times they've played a whiteout game, they're pretty good. So I think the last loss was an Ohio State loss, and that was, I want to say 2016, I think it was, or 17. I think it might have been 2016 or 17. But going to be an epic game, to close the night, really, to see, Alabama and Georgia, and then Oregon and Penn State. You can't ask for more, and you can't ask for more on a dual monitor setup as well. Two epic games, man. I don't really know what to make of this game because we don't really know how good Penn State is. I think Oregon has shown a little bit more on how good they are. They've really taken care of business where they should have. Penn State has shown some offensive struggles throughout the year, and I'm going to be paying a lot of attention to this game. Oregon coming into this game offensively is hot. I think the line of scrimmage, really, this game's going to be decided at the line of scrimmage. Who runs the ball better, who controls the line of scrimmage, whose pass rush gets to who more. I don't think this is going to be a high-scoring game. I think this is going to be a very, very low-scoring game. And my gut tells me Penn State's going to win this football game. But I wouldn't be surprised if either team won. Epic matchup. Looking forward to this game. I'm going to have 2 TVs with both games on it. Cannot wait. This is a get your popcorn ready night. So crazy Saturday night. Going to be an epic weekend of football, man. Like always. This is going to be, can't wait. I'm excited. I'm excited about this week of football. Can't ask for more. This is gonna be 2 great matchups to end the night, and can't wait. Can't wait. Nice to get this pod knocked out. Working solo today, but it is what it is. But just getting to talk ball, don't matter. I love talking ball. So we'll get out of here and let's get ready for the season, man. Let's get ready for the continuation of an epic season already. Out of here.